Power doesn't announce itself. It doesn't shout across rooms or lean forward to be counted. It doesn't flex for attention or posture for applause, because applause is the currency of performers, not builders. Real power enters quietly and alters the temperature without asking permission, the way a storm changes the air before a single drop of rain touches the ground. Look at a man's face long enough and you'll see it. The face is not just skin and bone, it is a record. A canvas where discipline leaves brushstrokes, where restraint sharpens the jaw, and where nights of silence carve depth into the eyes. Time reveals everything. Some faces beg to be noticed, chasing validation with exaggerated expressions and restless energy. Others don't ask at all. They assume recognition will come in time, because they are not in a hurry to be understood. The loud man performs, constantly adjusting himself to the audience. The quiet man observes, and observation, done long enough, becomes dominance. This is where most people get it wrong. They confuse presence with performance, confidence with volume, and strength with spectacle. They think power must be visible to be real. But the most dangerous man in the room is never the one proving himself. It's the one who doesn't need to. His aura is not aggressive, it's gravitational. People feel it before they understand it. He doesn't chase reactions or provoke responses. He becomes the ghost everyone senses but can't quite read, the one whose silence speaks louder than arguments ever could. His life is not chaos disguised as freedom. It is a masterpiece in progress, painted slowly and deliberately, each decision intentional, each movement measured, created without an audience because the work itself is the reward. And within him there is a shadow, not a violent one, not an uncontrolled impulse, but a disciplined shadow. A shadow that obeys him, that has been trained through restraint, self-denial, and awareness. He knows what he is capable of, and that knowledge makes him calm. This is Sigma energy. Without the noise, without the ego, and without the caricature, people imitate online. It is not about isolation for attention or mystery for show. It is about self-mastery so complete that nothing external can disturb the internal order. This is where the path truly begins, and now we dive deeper. Number one, the silent foundation. Why true power never introduces itself. There is a stage in every man's development where he believes power must be displayed to be real. This stage is not wrong, it is simply unfinished. Display is how the mind tests its identity before it has fully integrated it. But mature power behaves differently. It withdraws from exhibition. It becomes quieter, heavier, and more internal. This is why true authority rarely announces itself. It does not arrive with explanations, slogans, or declarations. It arrives with stillness. A man who has cultivated inner order does not need to broadcast his confidence because his nervous system already knows who he is. His breathing is slower. His gestures are economical. His speech has weight because it is not compulsive. This is the foundation of Sigma energy without noise, not rebellion, not dominance, not detachment for attention, but self-containment. When a man no longer needs external confirmation, his aura stabilizes. Others feel it not because he demands recognition, but because coherence is felt instinctively. The body reads it before the mind names it. This is why silence is not emptiness. Silence is compression. It is potential energy held under control. The immature mind fears silence because it exposes insecurity. The refined mind uses silence because it communicates certainty. This is the first threshold, realizing that presence is not built outwardly, but inwardly, layer by layer, until the face itself becomes calm evidence of internal order. The face over time records how a man has treated his impulses. It shows whether he's been ruled by them or whether he has learned to govern them. This is why some faces feel loud even when quiet, and others feel composed even without words. One has chaos beneath the surface. The other has structure. Sigma energy begins here, in the decision to stop performing strength and start becoming it. Number 2, emotional sovereignty, mastering the inner climate. Once a man understands that power is internal, the next refinement is emotional sovereignty. And this is where most transformations either solidify or collapse, because emotional sovereignty is not emotional suppression, nor is it emotional expression for approval or release. It is emotional regulation rooted in self-awareness, a quiet mastery that happens long before anything is visible on the surface. The sophisticated man does not attempt to erase emotion, because emotion is information. Instead, he studies it with the same calm attention a craftsman gives to his tools. He notices the first flicker of irritation before it hardens into speech, the subtle tightening in the chest before the voice sharpens, and the micro shift in posture before impatience leaks into movement. He senses the pull of ego before it demands to be fed, recognizing how quickly identity tries to defend itself when threatened. He detects anxiety at its earliest signal, before it disguises itself as urgency, pressure, or the need to act prematurely. This awareness creates a gap, and within that gap lies freedom, because what is observed no longer controls, and what is understood can be directed. Most people live inside their emotions as if trapped inside weather they cannot influence, reacting to every internal storm as though it were reality itself. The disciplined man learns to stand outside the storm, not denying it, not fighting it, but observing its patterns until they lose their power over him. This does not make him cold or detached. It makes him precise. Unmanaged emotions leak into posture, tone, timing, and decision-making, silently sabotaging presence. Integrated emotions, on the other hand, sharpen presence, giving weight to stillness and clarity to action. This is where the shadow becomes essential. The shadow is not something to destroy or suppress. It is raw energy waiting for direction. Aggression, when untrained, becomes recklessness, but when integrated, it becomes resolve. Desire, when uncontrolled, becomes distraction, but when refined, it becomes focus. Pride, when unchecked, becomes arrogance, but when disciplined, it becomes craftsmanship. The man who refuses to acknowledge his shadow becomes fragile, easily shaken by what he refuses to see. The man who indulges it becomes volatile, ruled by impulses he mistakes for strength. The man who integrates it becomes grounded, carrying psychological weight that others feel without explanation. They sense he cannot be easily provoked, not because he lacks emotion, but because his reactions are chosen rather than automatic. Emotional sovereignty allows a man to remain calm when others escalate. And this calm is not passive. It is dominance over self. And self-dominance is the only dominance that endures. Number 3, the psychology of stillness. Why composure? Commands. Attention. Stillness is not inactivity, it is controlled energy under command. A quiet density that signals mastery long before a single word is spoken. Across ancient philosophy and modern neuroscience, the same principle appears again and again. The human brain is wired to associate calm, measured behavior with safety, authority, and competence. When a man moves slowly, speaks with deliberation, and pauses before responding, his nervous system communicates regulation rather than reaction. He is not overwhelmed by his environment, and because of that, the environment subtly bends around him. This alone elevates presence. In contrast, nervous motion, excessive explanation, restless gestures, or compulsive speech leak information. They signal internal noise even when the vocabulary sounds confident. The sophisticated Sigma understands tempo at a cellular level. He does not rush conversations to prove intelligence. He does not fill silence to avoid discomfort. He allows space to remain empty, knowing that silence is not absence, but pressure. Silence creates asymmetry. Most people are uncomfortable with unoccupied moments, and in that discomfort, they begin to talk. They reveal motivations, insecurities, and intentions without being asked. They project meaning onto the still figure in front of them, while he remains unreadable, not as a tactic, but as a byproduct of self-containment. This is why figures like Thomas Shelby are remembered less for explosive action and more for pauses, glances, and moments where nothing is said. The power is not in what is declared, but in what is withheld. Yet this composure only works when it is real. Forced silence feels tight, performative, and manipulative. Natural stillness feels grounded, heavy, and relaxed. The difference lies entirely in intention. The man who has nothing to prove does not hurry outcomes or reactions. He lets moments unfold at their own pace because he is not negotiating his worth in real time. His presence becomes a reference point in the room, a steady metronome others unconsciously calibrate themselves to. Their speech slows, their posture adjusts, their emotional tone shifts. This is influence without effort, leadership without performance, and authority without volume. This is the emergence of the ghost effect, where a man's presence lingers long after he leaves, not because he demanded attention, but because he quietly altered the emotional atmosphere simply by remaining centered within it. Number 4, historical depth, Marcus Aurelius, and the discipline of inner rule. To understand Sigma energy in its purest form, one must study men who carried immense responsibility without losing inner balance. Men who were surrounded by power, yet not corrupted by it. And Marcus Aurelius stands as a timeless example of this orientation. As Emperor of Rome, he held authority over armies, laws, and the fate of millions. Yet his private writings reveal a man far more concerned with self-governance than with ruling others. He did not romanticize power. He treated it as a burden that demanded restraint. His daily reflections were reminders to remain patient, disciplined, and humble, not because anyone was watching, but because he understood that inner disorder eventually leaks into outward failure. He warned himself against anger because anger clouds judgment. He warned himself against ego because ego distorts perception. He warned himself against impatience because haste erodes wisdom. This distinction is critical. External power without internal order always decays. It becomes brittle, reactive, and unstable. Internal order, even without display, endures. It compounds quietly. Marcus Aurelius did not perform stoicism for an audience. He did not posture. He did not seek admiration for his restraint. His philosophy was private, written to himself, and that privacy reveals something essential. True self-mastery does not require witnesses. It is built in solitude through repetition and through choosing restraint when indulgence is available. The sophisticated man adopts this same orientation. He does not seek validation for his discipline. He does not announce his standards. He lives them. He understands that character is not proven through moments of intensity, but through consistency over time. This consistency produces a presence that cannot be imitated. Others feel it before they can explain it. They trust him, not because he demands authority, but because his emotional stability makes him reliable. He does not overreact when challenged. He does not collapse when pressure increases. He does not become inflated by praise or destabilized by criticism. His center remains intact. This steadiness is rare, and rarity is what gives Sigma energy its weight. Not rebellion, not aloofness, not detachment for its own sake, but reliability under pressure. This is why calm men are often placed into leadership without asking for it. When uncertainty rises and chaos approaches, people instinctively look toward those who will not amplify disorder. They sense who will remain composed when others fracture. Sigma energy, in its mature form, is not loud resistance to the world. It is silent alignment within it. Number 5, sophisticated detachment, caring without clinging. One of the most misunderstood aspects of Sigma energy is detachment, because most people mistake it for coldness, indifference, or emotional withdrawal, when in reality, sophisticated detachment is one of the highest forms of psychological maturity a man can develop. True detachment is not the absence of feeling. It is the absence of emotional dependence. It is the ability to engage deeply with people, work, and life itself without losing one's center. The refined man is present, attentive, and invested, but he is not fused to outcomes. His sense of self does not rise and fall with praise, rejection, or external validation. He does not cling because clinging implies fear, and fear signals inner instability. Instead, he operates from emotional independence paired with relational presence, a balance that allows him to give freely without silently demanding something in return. This is why he appears calm under pressure and composed in uncertainty. He can put in effort without becoming desperate. He can care without becoming reactive. He can listen without absorbing chaos. Psychologically, this is profoundly attractive, not because it is manipulative or calculated, but because it signals self-trust. A man who trusts himself does not unconsciously ask others to stabilize him. He does not need constant reassurance, attention, or emotional regulation from the outside. This creates space, and space is rare. Space allows others to breathe, to feel respected, and to approach him willingly rather than defensively. From space comes respect, and from respect comes influence. The man who needs nothing externally becomes magnetic internally. His aura is not loud or demanding. It is grounded, steady, and self-possessed. People feel safe around him because he does not project unresolved tension onto them. This level of detachment is not accidental. It is forged through solitude, reflection, and ruthless honesty with oneself. It requires facing the shadow without dramatizing it, without turning pain into identity, and without performing suffering for sympathy. It requires choosing long-term coherence over short-term validation, integrity over impulse, and silence over unnecessary explanation. The result is a man who can walk away without resentment, stay without dependence, and speak without urgency. This is the ghost quality again. Not disappearing, not withdrawing from life, but remaining ungraspable, not distant, but self-contained. Number 6, the masterpiece in progress, living without announcement. At the highest refinement, Sigma energy becomes invisible to those who are not ready to perceive it. And this invisibility is not a tactic or a defensive maneuver, but a natural byproduct of inner alignment. The sophisticated man no longer seeks validation from crowds, metrics, or reactions, because his life itself has become a masterpiece crafted quietly, deliberately, and with restraint. He refines his habits not for applause, but for precision. He sharpens his thinking not to dominate conversations, but to remove internal noise. He disciplines his reactions so emotions no longer leak power, and he aligns his values so decisions no longer create friction. Alignment is power because when thoughts, actions, and identity move in the same direction, effort dissolves. Life stops feeling like resistance and starts feeling like flow. This state often appears minimal or detached to the untrained eye. But in truth, it is depth without excess, substance without spectacle. Nothing is missing, nothing is wasted. The man who has reached this stage does not argue his worth because he has already settled it internally. He does not advertise his discipline because it is no longer performative. He does not chase symbolic victories or external dominance because he understands that real influence compounds silently through consistency over time. His shadow, once volatile and reactive, has been integrated through self-awareness and accountability. It no longer sabotages him, it stands behind him as grounded strength, reinforcing his decisions rather than undermining them. His presence feels complete, not sharp or aggressive, but composed. When he enters a room, energy does not spike, conversations do not pause, and attention is not forcibly pulled toward him, yet everything subtly settles. There is a calming gravity that recalibrates the space. This is elite self-mastery, not dominance over others, but governance of self, not control through intimidation, but authority through coherence, not noise, but resonance that lingers long after words fade, not ego, but grounded confidence built on self-trust and internal order. This is Sigma male energy without the noise, without the stereotype, and without the performance. It is the quiet authority of a man who knows himself deeply, trusts his internal compass completely, and no longer feels the need to announce who he is, because his calm, his restraint, and his consistency already speak for him.